Welcome, everybody, to a little ditty. Let's see. There we go. Going live. Hi, everyone. It's a surprise live, totally off the cuff. Wasn't planning or expecting to do this, but I'm going to do it because, um, okay, we're all set. So, yeah, if you guys are seeing this and you're on social media, you're welcome to come to my website, and you can chat with me live where I can answer any questions. But I'm going to share a personal and quite vulnerable story and just sort of my perspective of what it was like growing up wanting to be a boy. So, oh man, now where do I begin? So growing up, I was raised in a very strict Irish Catholic family, and I was quite muscular, quite athletic, and I had a bowl cut. So back in the late 70s, early 80s, yes, I'm that old. I had a bowl cut. And I remember being at the park one day, and there were all these like middle school and high schoolers at the park. And back in the day, and I saw a video or a reel recently where it was like, dude, kids from the 80s like survived a totally different thing. And it was I forget what it's even called. It's not a Ferris wheel, but it's one of those spin things at the playground. And then you run as fast as you possibly can and you grab and you swing yourself, right? Whatever those things used to be called. Well, remember being at this thing and all these middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I was under the age of 10. And I remember playing, and I was being pretty rough, and I was, climbing the jungle gym and playing soccer and going to the spin thing, whatever that thing is called. And these kids were playing with me, and they're quite enthusiastic and nice. And I could tell at some point they were trying to figure out, am I a boy or am I a girl? Because they couldn't tell. And so one of them came up to me, a boy came up to me. He's like, "What's your name?" And I remember being so embarrassed. I didn't want to tell them my real name. I wanted to make up a name. So I shyly am like, "Kevin." And they're like, "Wait, what's your name?" And I was like, "Kevin." Right? And they're like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Kevin." And the guy goes, "Matthew?" And I just nodded my head and smiled and didn't say a word. And then from that then on, I was like, "Oh my God, my name's Matthew." Right? My name is Matthew. I mean, as a little kid, I remember trying to go to the bathroom and I would stand up and pretend that I had male genitalia and that I could pee like a boy. And it didn't work very well, but I always was like, "Oh, I was born the wrong sex." Right? And so today I was on a hike with probably the only girlfriend I ever had growing up. We basically have known each other since we were born. Shout out to Susie. We basically have known each other. Our parents were friends since we were born, right? And she was the only female friend I had. I had boy boys that were friends. So I would have boy sleepovers. I had, boy clothes. I hung out with all the boys. I played hockey on an all boys team. Like I wanted to be a boy. Could you imagine? Thank God I'm a girl, right? But most of my childhood, I was pretty pissed off at the fact that I was a girl. I thought that I had the wrong identity. I didn't play with Barbie dolls. I didn't play with Cabbage Patch Kids. Yes, I'm dating myself, right? Born in the 70s. And and um and so I had like GI Joes and Transformers, and I played video games, and I usually had boy costumes for Halloween. So one year I was Michael Jackson, one year I was Dracula. And I remember at my birthday party, I think I was around 10, and we went to Chuck E. Cheese, big deal, right? Having Chuck E. Cheese birthday party, and, this is back in the day when Chuck E. Cheese used to be really popular, and everyone at my birthday party was a boy. I thought nothing of it, and I even remember what I wore, like, I had, like, those, like, Michael Jackson, like, zip leather, kinda pleatherish, but not really pleather pants. I think I had, like, a pink Oxford on. I had a short bowl cut, like, everyone thought I was a boy. And so, I was walking with my friend today who recently moved from where I grew up to Aspen, and we went on an awesome hike today. And, she was sharing her experience about her daughter being in seventh grade. And I was like, how's it going for her? She goes, it's kind of confusing there's a lot of kids in her class that are trying to express themselves as a they or a them, right? Instead of a he or a she. And I said, "Wow, that's so fascinating. Gosh, if I would have grown up in today's society, I might have begged my parents for a sex change. I might have begged my parents for hormone replacement therapy. I might have gone through the process of becoming a boy." Now, I am female. I am heterosexual, right? I like men. I like the opposite sex in terms of intimate relationships. And I look at it now and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I love being female." And I am so grateful that I also knew what it was like to pretend to be a boy. And it was great for a while, right? And nothing wrong with that. It's just I was born female. And I know that if I was raised in today's society, I probably would have gone through with it. In fact, I kind of was a tomboy probably through my 20s, right? All my friends in college were mostly guy friends. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. But then, when the opposite sex starts being your friend and sex is legal between people, it gets a little confusing because I was like, well, we're just friends, right? Like I've had male friends my whole life and it was a little more confusing for them. And so I just kind of wanted to come on here and share my own personal experience. And this is not to state where anyone else is. I'm obsessed with studying psychology and the human condition and human behavior and neuroscience and how our brains work. I'm obsessed with just like shamanic rituals and like the power of healing, and I know for a fact that I would have a very different life if I was born in today's society. And so I'm not sure what the right choice is for any single person, but I will tell you that I didn't really know who I was or who I wanted to be until I like probably when I was like 23, I really liked being a female. It took me 23 years to figure out that I was happy and comfortable in the identity gender of a female, of what I was born with. And, I don't know if what the right choice is for any one person or any parent that might be going through that with their kids. But I can tell you that from a brain perspective, from a psychological perspective, from an emotional perspective, most of us spend the good part of up until we're 20, 23, 24, 25, figuring out who the heck we are because we don't know. Really, truly. And I realize that, if you're seeing this on social media, you can join me on my website and interact directly, katherinemcintosh.com/connect, where we can have an interactive conversation. But if you're seeing this on social media and it hits a chord, or I'm speaking your language, like I get it. This isn't about there's a right way to go about this. This is about how do you support somebody trying to figure out their identity before they make a decision that could be permanent, right? Like 18 years old, I got a tattoo. It was permanent. And if I could erase the clock of time and go back to my 18-year-old self and not get that particular permanent tattoo, I would have done it. Luckily, um, probably 15 years ago, I went to a talented tattoo artist who I worked for, and he ended up fixing my bad tattoo, and we put a different tattoo on top of the bad tattoo. But the point is that until we really, 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 really know who we are, it's hard to make a life altering decision that could be permanent and lock us into an identity that we may just be exploring. And so to everyone out there, no matter like this isn't just about gender, right? Like this is about everything in your life. We can get attached to wanting to identify as a particular identity, and perhaps that's just part of the nature and human nature of exploring who the heck we are, because the truth is, I don't think we ever know. I think we're always uncovering and rediscovering and reinventing and going on adventures and learning what our likes and dislikes are, what our values and preferences are, what our morals are, because we don't know unless we try it on. And so I'm all for trying things on to explore and experiment. And yet, I really do believe that we don't really develop who we are or even understand who we are or who we might be until we're a little bit older. And so, may this be a message to all of us to have compassion for every single person, because you never know what they're going through. You never know what their experience is. And it's not really fair of us to assume where somebody's at. I think the biggest gift that we can be is to show up with love, to show up with empathy, to show up with compassion, and to listen, to ask questions, to try to understand, to not always give answers. And, I know for me, do I know what that was about for me? I just really wanted to be a boy. I really wanted to be a boy. I don't know the why. I don't know if there was a psychological reason behind it, but I am really grateful for my parents because they didn't force me to wear dresses. Right? They let me express the fact that I really liked being a boy instead of a girl, but I didn't go through any permanent change in order to make it. And by the age of 23, I was fully embracing the fact that I was a female and I loved it. So, you know, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're going through, find somebody who can really discover and uncover, like, just being there for you, right? Being able to just sit there with you, right? I know when I was going through my massive eating disorder, because I was confused. I was like, "Wait, I wanna have a boy body, and now I'm starting to have boobs. This doesn't work for me." So, around the age of 18, 19, I kinda full blown went into an eating disorder to try to control the things that I thought I couldn't control. And and so, for all of us out there, the biggest thing that we can do is lend an ear, listen. Get curious, be vulnerable, ask the right questions. And sometimes all that someone wants is to be seen and heard. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to argue or defend or fight their point of view. You literally can just be that kind, compassionate being that helps people get through a really hard time. Right, and I love that. You guys are amazing. So we got some comments. Thank you for your vulnerability. You are welcome. A strong support network and someone to listen is so important. It really is, you guys. And here's the deal. It doesn't have to be about, a gender identity confusion or curiosity. It could be a marriage confusion. It could be a life career confusion. It could be, where am I supposed to live right now? What am I supposed to do as a career? Finding people who can just sit down with you and listen empathically and hopefully be a support for you, right? I am guilty as a coach and a consultant and a therapist to many, right? I'm not legally a therapist, but I end up being a therapist to my friends, right? And I am sometimes guilty of when they come to me with what's going on in their world. I'm not always the best friend because I go into therapy mode. I go into coach mode. I go into consultant mode, right? And I start fixing instead of just being like, Catherine, there's no problem to solve. There's nothing to fix, and there's nothing wrong. Your friend needs a friend. Your friend is asking for someone to listen to you. And so, for all of you out there, go be a good listener. Ask more questions. If someone seems off, right? Ask them a question. I was just listening to a podcast with Erwin McManus, and I believe it was Eric Pineda. And I apologize if that's not your first name, but Pineda, I think it's Eric. And he was, interviewing Erwin, and Erwin had shared he had met this, very wealthy man at a dinner, and he seemed kind of off and sort of empty. And so they had a intimate conversation after the dinner. And he said, if you ever need support, if you ever need to reach out. And the guy was like, okay, okay, okay. Never did. And a couple months later, he committed suicide, right? Because he felt lost. He didn't have a supportive friend or a place that he could go. And so, for all of you entrepreneurs out there that might be seeking the fame or the success or the seven figures, I've worked with a lot of people with a lot of zeros behind their names. And the stress doesn't get any easier because you just add zeros to your bottom line, right? To all your expenses. And so don't go chasing, right? Don't go chasing. Don't be in such a rush to get somewhere where you're not. Be in the present moment and get curious about who you can support, who you can be there for, and what you can do. So, I just wanted to come on here because I went on a hike with my childhood friend. We've known each other since birth. And I said to her, we were reminiscing, and I said, you were my only female friend, and you are my oldest friend. You've known me since birth. I've known you since birth. We grew up together, and you know and it was really cool to just sort of have that conversation back and forth. And it went, wow, I never really have publicly talked about the fact that up until the age of about 13, I really wanted to be a boy. And I love my parents so much. They gave me an incredible life. It was a tumultuous upbringing, but there was one thing that my parents did really, really well, is that they never forced me to try to be an identity that I wasn't. So they encouraged me going around and telling people my name was Matthew because I was too embarrassed to tell them I was a girl. But now, like, pink's my favorite color. And so, my friends, we're in crazy, crazy, crazy times all over the world. And I think kindness is required. I think compassion is required. And I think empathy is required. So next time someone comes to you with a personal crisis or a personal identity crisis that they might be going through, what they're actually asking for is someone to just listen. Just be there for them. Don't try and fix them. Don't try and convince them. Don't try and defend. Don't try and change them. Just be there for them, because every single person in the world is enough exactly who they are and where they are. And I think that we need more people to be exactly where they are, which is, I am enough. You are enough. I saw a post from a friend the other day. He was dealing with his own I'm not enough crisis, right? And I remember posting, I went to go find my post, but I couldn't find it. So hopefully got it. But I was really like aware of this pandemic that we have, that is, we believe it's okay to exist in a world walking around feeling like we're not enough. And I hope that we can change that narrative. And I hope that we can become a people that begins to embrace flaws, insecurities, shames, whatever failed, whatever in your life. It doesn't make you any less than who you are right now. And right now, who you are, no matter where you are on your discovery journey of yourself, you are enough. So, my friends, thank you for watching. If this resonated with you and you would like to share it, please share it. Tag a friend who might need to see this message. And if you want to connect with me on the website, where I go live quite frequently, and you can get notified when I'm live, and then you can interact with me live. And we're doing it in a way so you can do it anonymously. We don't know who you are. I don't know your name. You can post a question, just don't be mean, because then my mean side will come out. Just don't be mean. And hopefully we can have meaningful conversations like this one along the way. So cheers to your journey. Cheers to where you are, and never give up who you are, and never stop becoming who you are meant to be. Thanks for watching. See you next time.